Hey, welcome to the best of everything. I am Ruben Paul, and across from me, you guys know who he is, my annoying brother from another mother, my right-hand man, the thorn in my side, the shit on the bottom of my shoe, the one and only.
The gum on the bottom of the other shoe.
Mr. Pet Peeve himself.
Oh, except for that, Mr. Peeve. Mr. Peeve.
All right.
Keep
Mr.
out the
Johnny
pet.
Sanchez.
Keep out the pet.
What up, man?
Yeah, what's up, brother? What's up?
I'm excited today.
Yeah.
Because we have,
somebody that looks like he's related to me.
No.
Oh, really?
You're complimenting yourself already?
Yeah. Well,
Anyway,
we just got mistaken for brothers.
Can I introduce our guest?
Oh, yeah.
We have a special guest.
Yeah.
I've known this guy for a while. I don't exactly know how long we've known each other, but we'll go through that during the course of the show. But very talented, very funny. Has a new project coming out on HBO.
Yes, sir. Half-hour special.
A half-hour special.
November 1st.
Yep. November 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Erik Rivera.
Thanks for having me, man.
What's
you
up,
guys,
man?
You guys really do have like old couple energy, just bickering at each other. From the moment you walked in, Johnny starts, and then you guys go
Johnny's
back.
a shit starter.
No,
I call him shit
listen,
starting Sanchez.
first of
he
all-
knows that. What have I been calling you for years?
Shit starter. But wait a minute.
What?
But we say the new odd couple.
We are the new odd couple.
Because it's just a.
Yeah.
It's
We're
just a
good
different
friends,
version.
but we're totally opposite.
Yeah.
But
Completely
we're the
opposite.
same sign. That's why I don't believe in astrology.
Yeah, no, we've gone over this.
Yeah.
I'm a March Aries. You're an April Aries. That's the difference.
Oh.
Johnny
So
is dated.
For
assholes
those of
are
you
in
who
March.
don't know this,
Johnny has dated too many LA white women.
I did this
I'm
all
a March Aries. You're an
You're
April.
Aries.
Your moon.
Okay.
Your
No.
moon is in the rising house. What?
I don't know if I should be proud to say this. I did all this research on my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I went through a metaphysical phase. Yeah, man. I used to live down the street from the Psychic Eye. It's a bookstore on Ventura Boulevard and in Sherman Oaks. And I started.
Was the psychic Middle Eastern?
No, I didn't go talk to a psychic.
Did you get your palm read?
No, I didn't do any of that. But I started reading a lot of metaphysical books, like The Way of the Peaceful Warrior and all that stuff. And then I started carrying crystals and wearing like beads and all that. You don't remember me at that phase?
No.
When I had a ponytail,
I think
What?
I met
I had a
you-
ponytail,
Yeah,
yeah.
Johnny used to have a ponytail.
my hair used to be back down to here.
You were
man.
like the love guru, just walking around.
I was.
Johnny was so cocky.
He was at airports handing out
Johnny
the
used
little
to be
cards.
So
I was.
cocky.
Wait a minute. I was not cocky because I was
No.
so zen at that time. But anyway, my point being,
What happened?
I
Go
got
back
it.
to that, Johnny.
I know. That's.
I want to be friends with that
I'll tell
Johnny.
you what that was. That's when I was. That was doing that.
Oh, okay.
It's not as much of the drinking.
Oh, okay. You need to
But
go
I
back
like,
to that because
no,
you're a
you know
little
what?
aggressive with the
No,
drinking.
you know what?
You're a little aggressive.
I like me better when I'm drinking.
Oh, we
Right?
don't. We
I don't know. I never met Ponytail Johnny.
We don't.
Oh.
Yeah. Ponytail Johnny is what drink. You've met drinking Johnny.
I've met drinking
No,
Johnny.
he doesn't know because he.
no, you haven't. He hasn't
pass
snapped
each
on you
other.
yet. Has he snapped?
No,
on
he's
you?
never snapped on me.
Okay.
We've never even listen. he
But
doesn't-
like I do agree with the differences because I've been here. We were waiting for you, and his energy. I'm just like, oh my, like he's stressing me out, and then you come in very calm, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
He's wound tight.
Yeah,
Johnny's wound
And-
tight.
and
Oh
I've
my
seen him like just going back and forth with everybody. Like, all right, I gotta delete. What do I do with this? And I'm just like, what is
Here's the
happening?
funniest thing about Johnny. When, when Johnny's about to pounce, he'll actually let you finish. He'll go, yeah, but he'll like let you, and he's not listening to a word you're saying. He's just waiting for your mouth to stop moving.
Right.
Okay.
And then he's gonna pounce.
All right. So listen, here was the other thing. I'm gonna get back to the signs real quick, and then we're gonna get to Erik.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Here's my point.
Metaphysical Johnny.
Yeah, because we only had 5 minutes left, right? We still had 5 minutes, but you weren't here. So then I'm like, are we gonna? I was thinking we were going live. You know what I mean?
You're not supposed to say that.
You know what I mean? We're live, but
Yeah.
what I mean is like
Just keep going. Just keep
3 minutes is what I meant. But anyway, so when I went through that phase, I did all this astrology research, and Aries is the only sign in the zodiac that the two are split. The April and the March. They're two completely different personalities.
Really?
And I'll tell you this much. You guys don't have to believe me. I can feel. By the way,
I
metaphysical.
believe you, Johnny, because I know you do useless work. Useless research is Johnny.
Metaphysical Johnny is feeling the negative energy from these two right here, questioning me.
Metaphysical Johnny.
I feel like on the side, his side hustle is like the Miss Cleo. Call right now, Mr. Johnny.
Oh, Miss Cleo!
Mr. Johnny reads your future.
Dude, I missed that lady. I remember her. So March Aries, if you've ever noticed, you ask around. Start when you meet other Aries. The March Aries are a lot.
How would we meet other Aries?
Because if you're talking,
that's not a question I asked.
But you just kind of be like, "Hey, man, you don't have to be an Aries. Just ask people."
Yeah.
And then you're gonna notice the difference in the March Aries as opposed to April. March, they're louder, they're more aggressive. April, or the laid back Aries. I'm gonna walk off on that one.
Okay, I mean, if that's your research, I believe you because I know you do research things.
I do.
Okay, that's good to know.
What was her name? Because nobody gets into this stuff unless there's a girl involved.
No, this was because. Oh, you know what?
There it is. No, guys, I was trying to find myself. Oh wait, hold up.
Wait.
Yeah, I do remember her name now.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
It was Tracy Smith. I remember it now.
All right, you know what?
Her Earth name was Kelly,
but her Earth name was
her moon name was Crystal.
Her Earth name was Shauna. Whisper out to Shauna. Okay, yeah, there was a little bit of, but
we said a shout out. He has to say whisper.
Whisper.
Yeah.
I do
That's
whisper
how
out,
difficult
by the way.
he is.
I'm just trying to change it up, Eric.
Go ahead, Johnny.
We found out that they've been saying shout out since the 70s,
Right?
And I just feel like it's time to change it up. But it wasn't just her. My roommates and I, we all went through this phase of we need to get crystal. I used to wear crystals, dude, on stage. I used to wear crystals, man.
Johnny sounds like he was in a cult.
Did you wear 2 earrings too?
I had earrings, only on one.
Oh, really?
Only the one right here.
Wow.
Did you have a beaded vest on?
Okay, no, I didn't. Oh, I did wear a vest.
There
for a
it
while.
is.
Vest with no shirt.
I did
with no shirt
well,
on.
Well, no,
underneath.
the vest with the wife beater underneath.
Oh wow.
The white wife beater underneath.
Okay.
And then I had ripped jeans. That was before Metaphysical Johnny. Then I grew my hair out and I got into the Peaceful Warrior, and then there was Johnny Metaphysical Johnny.
Did Metaphysical Johnny wear flip flops on stage?
No, absolutely not. But I
goodness.
did wear corduroys and tie dye.
Wow.
Tie dye.
Yeah, a little bit of tie dye shirts.
What's tie dye?
Like the hippie
goofy,
60s stuff.
Swirly
yeah.
shirts.
Oh wow.
That was the phase when Felipe used to see me all the time. I was wearing all corduroy, and I was wearing all vintage.
So
weird shirts.
what got
But anyway,
you
we
out
gotta get
of
into
Metaphysical Johnny? What happened?
They broke up.
She broke up with him.
They broke up. That was it.
So now back to our guest.
Man, I was trying to tell you. Let's go this
But,
way.
but here's the funny thing. Just because of that, I almost want to ask him what sign he is, but I refuse to. So we're just going to move on to
But
real.
I love that Johnny's like, we got to go back to our guest. You dropped on us that you had a ponytail, and we're trying to skirt past that. There's no way we're going past it. We got to find out what happened.
Yeah, with the look.
Ponytail and crystals, yeah.
Okay.
That's not just something you throw away.
What, Bon Jovi wasn't hot anymore?
Yeah.
No, well, you know what? That's funny because grunge did start to come in, right? No, you know what it really was? It was reps. I started getting
your
reps,
agents and stuff,
interest, and
managers.
managers are just like, I think you need to
Change the look.
change that hair and the whatever. And it was a gradual from to here, then to here, and then short.
Oh, okay. So let's talk to our guest.
Listen. Off me for the
Enough.
rest.
We've learned a lot.
We've learned a lot.
We've
I've learned a lot
wasted
about you.
almost 10 minutes, and that's
We met
ridiculous.
Meta Johnny.
We met Meta Johnny.
If you want your reading,
Meta
call
Johnny.
1-800-META-JOHNNY.
You know what, man? I want to
Meta
summons Meta Johnny to come back, man. I think that'd be so much better.
Yeah.
I mean, the podcast would be chill.
What if I do it with Ahmed and we call it Ahmed Johnny?
Wow.
Okay.
Anybody?
So our guest today is
Anybody?
Erik Rivera. So Erik, obviously we know each other, but it's always good to give people a background.
Mm-hmm.
So where are you from originally?
Originally from New York.
Born and raised?
Born and raised, moved out here.
What part of New York?
I grew up in New Rochelle.
New Rochelle. Okay.
Yeah. And then I moved out here 9 years ago, and everyone I talked to was like, you have to know Ruben Paul.
Are you serious?
Ruben's the guy. Godfrey was like, you know
That's
Ruben?
my guy. Yeah.
You got to talk to Ruben.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So you start. When did you start doing stand up? Where was the first place you ever went up on stage?
First place I went up was a place called Hamburger Harry's in Times Square. It was this diner.
I remember that place.
Yeah, and in the back,
they did comedy there.
In the back they had a room where they stacked all the chairs, and they would do open mics there on Wednesdays, and then on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays they would do real shows.
So what led you to start doing stand up? Did you go to college? Like what's
I was in college
what
and
school?
Pace University.
Okay.
And I was just I was so enamored with stand up, and a lot of the stand up comics that I was meeting were like, hey, anytime you want to, just get.
How
I'll
were
put
you
on the guest
meeting them?
list.
Just on campus?
So I was part of the student organization. We started putting together these comedy shows.
You seem like you'd be a part of an organization.
I was, because I was trying to fit in.
Hello, everyone. We're gonna do a potluck, and then we're gonna have campus activities for the Latino organization on campus.
So I was starting to put these events together. I was meeting a lot of the comics, and they all just like, hey, anytime you want to come to the show, let us know. We'll put you on a guest list.
Oh, dope.
And I was like, all right, cool. And at that time, I was getting like almost a master class in comedy. Like I was watching Attell, Greg Giraldo, Kevin Hart before he was Kevin Hart. I saw Mitch Hedberg, Patrice. Like I was watching these guys in their prime.
So had you had any desire to do stand-up prior to people saying, hey, come out to shows?
No, not at all. I didn't know.
Really?
I didn't know what stand-up was. Like in my house, when you have
I can
immigrant
relate to
parents,
that.
it was
you get
this white-collar job. This is a level-headed, stable job. I didn't really. I'd seen stand-up on TV. I'd seen Raw, Delirious. I saw Leguizamo's Mambo Mouth, but I didn't know you could just do that.
What did you
That's
go
what
to
he
college
said.
for?
You said the same thing.
Yeah, I had no idea.
You can do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to college for communications.
Okay,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah, I went through the brochure. I was like, "What looks fun?" And then you see the one Asian kid with the camera, the one Latino kid on the soundboard, and I was like, "Oh, I could do that."
Well, the difference for me, I think, is when I went to college, I had already known after I saw Eddie Murphy Delirious that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry.
Right.
Comedian, actor. But where I grew up, to say that you're going to be a theater major in college was not acceptable.
Yeah.
So I was like, communications, but I ended up taking all theater classes. So I could relate to the communications for somebody who is
when I actually started doing like open mics and stuff, I was actually about to go into music.
Oh, really?
Like on the not the artistic side, but like on the production side, I started following around these smaller bands and learning the grassroots campaigns of how they were getting the word out on their bands and stuff, like Fulanito, which was a big merengue band at the time. I was following them around.
Repeat that. What's the name of it? Fulanito.
Yeah, I was with their manager and following him around, and he was showing me the ropes of how he was booking them on gigs and getting their word out. Nelson Gonzalez, who was like a Grammy award-winning guitarist, I was following them around. Like I was just trying to learn that side of it because I tried to get an internship at Universal, and this was when Napster and LimeWire came out, and he was like, don't go into music. We're getting hammered by the internet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So at that time, I was like, I think I'm going to do music and then find stand-up, and I'm going to comedy clubs every night. And then one night I was just like, I think I want to try this. Like I started, like, when you finally see the trick, not the trick, but you see, I saw the premise, I saw the punchline, and I saw what they were doing and following a lot of these guys around and seeing
the comic process,
seeing them work out a bit. And I was like, oh, I see what they're doing.
Was there a moment that you could remember when after you went to a show where you're walking home or getting on the subway going, man, I think I want to try this?
It was at the comic strip. I had been to a bunch of shows at that point, and I just remember watching this one guy, and he was doing a bit that I had seen before, but he was adding different punchlines, and it was almost like when you see a magician and you like, oh, I see where the card's coming from.
Yeah, and
that was the first time I saw it, and I was like, I see what he's doing. I was like, oh, I want to try this.
So basically, he sucked, and you're like, if he can do comedy, I can do comedy.
He didn't suck, but I appreciated the art form. Like I wasn't. It's like right now when we watch specials, we don't laugh, but you go, oh, that was good.
Yeah,
and that was the first time I'd seen it like that.
You know what's interesting now? This is not to criticize, but it's just in terms of studying comedy. Like you'll watch a special of a comedian that we all know is like really good. And here's the thing, me and Johnny have talked about this. People get the term hacky confused with joke thief.
Right.
Hacky means familiar.
Yeah.
Hackneyed, done. Yeah. But it's always interesting when you see somebody who's like really advanced do a special, and then you see a joke, you see them doing a joke that you've seen 100 other comedians do, and it's almost like, wow, like it almost doesn't fit because it's not even a different
and you're
take
kind of
or
like,
a different
where did that
spin.
come from?
Like, where did it
like,
come
why
from?
did that?
You have all this
greatness
stuff over here.
Right.
Then you're doing girls' night out.
Yeah.
Like it's just and not even a different take. It's always interesting to me. But like you said, you had watched a comedian do a joke you had already seen done before.
Yeah.
And you recognize that even having not even done comedy.
Well, I saw him do it before.
Oh, you saw him do it before.
So like,
okay.
because I was going to the clubs, I was starting to get familiar.
You saw him do the same.
Yeah, I started getting familiar with the comics, so I started realizing.
Got it.
And he saw what he did
the
with
progression.
The progression of the craft.
Gotcha. Okay, I thought you meant you seen him do a bit that you had seen.
But still, it's a good point what you said, because we've talked about that quite a bit. And like you said, sometimes we're not laughing when we're watching a special or something like that, but you're just kind of going, "Oh man, that's a great way to go with that. That's clever. That's whatever."
Absolutely.
But I recently with Chappelle's last one, there was moments where I actually literally laughed out loud, and then went back to see it again because remember he got a little more physical on this last one, and I kind of appreciated that a little bit with him, just because I hadn't seen. He's usually on his stool, you know what I mean? But that's amazing that you weren't really. That wasn't even the direction you were initially going, because he and I were talking about. Well, when I was a kid, of course I thought about it. Of course you know what I mean? And you're going to this communication, and when you're doing with the bands, do you mean you were trying to get in with music as far as
like on the manager side, maybe production side? Like I was trying to learn all that.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay, I wasn't sure if you meant like engineering or something.
No. At that point, it was just like the managerial side of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why following them around, and being involved. Okay.
And one last quick point about the material. What I found interesting from some audience members, and this gets back to material like. A lot of us nowadays say, me and Johnny talked about this, I think last week, like back in the day, the industry really held you accountable for your material.
Right.
Like if you were showcasing for something and you did a bit, and not even calling you a hack or anything like that, somebody go, "Hey, Eric, just so you know, blah, 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 did that joke, a joke very similar to that. So if you could replace that joke with something else, I'm not saying you got it from him, but the joke is very similar. We'd prefer that you wouldn't do that joke."
Yeah.
Now, nowadays, it seems like there's nobody holding anybody accountable.
Right.
Like nobody really cares. I mean, the big thing was Joe Rogan exposing Carlos Mencia.
Right.
But other than that, if you're well liked, people choose to ignore what they want to ignore. But one thing I find interesting about the psychology of the audience is I've had friends and family laugh at people that we all know probably aren't very original, and then they go, "Man, that guy was hilarious. I mean, I heard everything he'd already did before. Other people do the same jokes, but they still laugh."
Right.
Yeah. And it almost like shows you that, it comes back to you policing yourself, you having integrity for yourself, because at the end of the day, most audience members don't seem to care.
Yeah.
We see, hacks kill all the time.
Oh.
They destroy. And it's not that the audience has never heard it before. It's just the execution is great, and we don't care whether it's original or not. It just makes us laugh. And I think the integrity has to go back to comedy. And I know that's a long way to go about getting to your point of watching somebody grow material, but it's just interesting that you had never done stand-up.
Right.
You'd seen somebody, and you noticed the progression of, wow, he added some new things to the same bit. Wow, this is an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's cool.
Now, do you think the I don't like using the term hack, but do you think it's because I know there are some joke thieves out there. There's we all know who they are. We hear around the whispers around the comedy community. But then there are those guys who may fall into material that's being redone. Is it them just falling victim to the time we're living in, where there's so much content, and it's just so hard to come up with something that may be super original, because now you got like influencers going out there and doing stuff, and it's so much stuff. Like, because there's times I'll post a clip up, I'm like, oh, this person does it, and I'm like, I don't even know this person, and then you have to look, and it's a social media clip, and it's like, well, I didn't even know this person existed.
Here's my answer to that question. You always hear people go, "Hey, there's nothing new under the sun. It's only your perspective."
Right.
And I do agree with that to a certain extent. but there's no other Erik Rivera on this planet.
Yeah.
And my thing is, comedy, the reason why we're comedians is because we're going to do the extra work that other people aren't going to do.
Right.
So I think it's almost incumbent upon us to agonize over trying to be as original or as honest as we possibly can be.
Right.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of people, but the difference, like you and the guy, like if you had a day job, like not a day job, a guy sitting in a cubicle shouldn't come up with the same type of bit Erik Rivera comes up with, or Ruben Paul comes up with, or Johnny Sanchez, or D.L. Hughley, or Bill Burr. You know what I mean? Because we're professionals. And not saying two people can't think about the same topic, especially if it's a topical thing. And I think that's why me and Johnny, and talking, just trying to grow. And I don't have all the answers because I'm still trying to get better and grow myself. But I know one thing is being personal and talking about yourself increases your odds of being original.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to be observational and original because a lot of people see the same observations.
Yeah.
If somebody does a girls' night out, I don't necessarily say that they're a joke thief.
Right.
They experienced it too. But the problem is, so did 5,000 other comedians who are male and who went out and who've seen the groups of girls, and there's always one ugly one in the group. Like, I think all those observations are valid.
Yeah.
But as a comedian, you have to take a moment and go, you know what? I've seen too many comedians do this. Maybe I don't need to read the same newspaper. It's like handing a newspaper to everybody else. You know, we're all reading the same lines. Unless you have a different nuance or something you could add to it.
Yeah, there have been times we've heard somebody a topic, and then we hear somebody go in a direction, and we kind of both go, "Hey, man, did you see what's name do that thing, man?" And you thought that person's going this way with it, that's something you'd seen before, whether it's a family bit or a topical, and then they got this twist or whatever, and you're kind of like, all right, this person's not even in that, you know, they're going down that path or whatever. But the content thing is interesting because you and I remember we were talking one time. This has already been about a year or two ago, and Ruben was like, "Dude, I know what some of these young influencers are doing, man. Like with sketches, they're watching old stand-up,
or old sketches, and just
redoing them."
So he would point things out, and I go, "Oh my God, you know what I mean?" And it's so easy to do that for some people that are just on the they're just on social media and they're influencers, man. I mean,
that's why a lot of those guys got in trouble. They call themselves content farmers because all they're doing is just rehashing, and now they have to give credit because people come after them.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I remember when Twitter was first blowing up, a bunch of people were hitting me because some chick who had a ton of followers took one of my old jokes and did a thing on it, and people were loving it, and it was something that I had written like so far, but no one had seen it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was like back in the day, if a famous comedian saw a younger comic do a bit, he can take the bit, and no one is gonna accuse the famous comic.
Yeah,
they're gonna say the young comic is the one who stoned it from the famous comic. So you have no protection sometimes from the famous people. And nowadays, like you said, with the internet, you know, people are just consuming content at such a rapid pace. I just think now people don't really care, unfortunately. And it's the comedians that have to keep the integrity. But I think at the end of the day, whether the audience cares or not, subconsciously, the people who are original and the ones who are different are the ones who have the longevity and sustain. And I'm saying all this to get back to you and your stand-up is I know you talk a lot about your own personal experiences, which allows you to be original.
Right. Yeah, no, I try to keep it as much as I can to my family and my experiences because, like you're saying, there's one Erik Rivera. You know, we can all go through some similar stuff. Like, I know Johnny's got a kid, so I'm not going to, if I hear Johnny on stage, like, I got a kid, I'm like, oh, look at him stealing my bit.
Exactly.
You know, but it's my take on it and having these two boys that drive me crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
And the fact, you know, being in a interracial relationship and just the nuances, like the one joke that I like that you do is when your dad goes, "We made it."
Oh yeah,
when, you know, that's just such a great joke and an interesting perspective. You know, you're not the first comic to be in an interracial relationship, but your perspective is so, you know, pure. You know what I mean? Which makes it really funny because I don't know. I just think when I watch somebody, I just want to see something. unique, and it doesn't necessarily have to be so original, like I've never heard the premise before.
Right.
But just what's your take on it?
Right.
Like, is it something different? And I'm not saying that two people can't have the same take, because I'm sure, you know, there's somebody out there probably doing a joke that's similar to mine, but as personal as I can make it, the better. You know, I will add something to the tapestry of comedy, if that makes sense.
Right.
You know, we all have our place. If there's a million comics, I hope we all can add a color to, you know, the whole palette, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, you've always worked on, your material's always been personal, and he didn't even know you weren't full Puerto Rican.
No, Puerto Rican, Guatemala, man.
Guatemala,
did-
dude.
yeah.
I said something, and I'm joking, and he was like, "What are you talking about? He's just Puerto Rican." No, dude. Which is funny because you actually have said it in your. I mean, I wouldn't have known this unless.
So who's Guatemalan?
My mother's Guatemalan.
Got
yeah.
you. Got you.
Yeah, father's
got you.
Puerto Rican.
Okay. And are your parents still together? Or?
No, well, my father passed away a couple years back.
Oh, sorry to hear that. I
Yeah.
didn't know. Okay, so how did if you don't mind me asking, how did your mom and dad meet and
So
end up
my
in New York?
father, they met in New York. My father was working at the Chrysler building for Texaco at the time.
Oh my God, Texaco.
Yeah.
Wow,
haven't heard that in a
name.
while, dude.
There's a Texaco gas station somewhere. I
Yeah.
saw
No
recently.
way.
And
Yeah.
my mother, she was cleaning offices there. And he saw her, and he started hitting on her. And she called him out because he was talking to her in English. He's Puerto Rican. He was pretty much raised in Queens. So for him, Spanish wasn't like
His
first language.
Oh wow! So your father was first generation?
Yeah, so they
Okay.
came over. Yeah, actually, no. He was born in Puerto Rico, but they came over at such a young age
Oh, gotcha.
and lived in Flushing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and in Puerto Rico, everyone speaks English pretty much. So when he started hitting on her, she was like, "Oh, you're full of it. Like, you got to talk to me in Spanish."
Hilarious.
And she always jokes like Puerto Ricans speak the worst Spanish. Not me, her. She said it.
Too funny.
So he started courting her in Spanish, and that's how they met.
So let me ask you this: So you grew up in New Rochelle?
New Rochelle.
So was it a Puerto Rican community you grew up in?
No. So mom and dad get they get married. Then she gets pregnant, and they're still in Flushing. She goes, "We're not raising a kid here. I want him to live in the suburbs." It was the whole American dream.
Gotcha.
I worked my ass off. I want him to have a better life.
Yeah.
So they moved out to New Rochelle because parts of her family were out there already.
Now, did you guys speak Spanish in the home?
My mom did. She made sure we spoke Spanish to her. That was the language she was comfortable in.
That's what my mom was supposed to do.
Yeah. Wait, you don't speak Spanish?
No, man.
No.
Johnny Sanchez?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Well,
God.
oh, you didn't.
I didn't know this.
Johnny's not really full Mexican.
Oh.
He's Portuguese. You didn't know that?
Here we go.
Johnny
Oh.
Sanchez?
All right.
You didn't.
Meta Johnny?
Yo, Meta Johnny is Portuguese.
Not all, bro. Just a little
Predominantly.
more.
You know what? It's because he's
Predominantly.
Aries in March.
He's
if he was
predominantly-
Aries in April, fluent.
Johnny, you
Yeah,
gotta
I'd be
tell the
fluent.
story.
It's
You gotta
the
come
March.
clean, man. Come
but
clean.
wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Because I feel like there's stuff you know that I don't know.
Okay.
So what Flushing? First, I've never even heard of Flushing. Flushing's?
Flushing, Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Flushing, Queens. So is the area a little rough?
It was just not what she wanted. Not
Got
what
it.
she wanted to raise kids because
Okay.
they were like in like a building and it was just there was no grass around. She was just like no.
Yeah, she wanted a home. She wanted
Yeah.
a home. Okay, so and then what's the place you keep now? Where you grew up?
I grew up in New Rochelle.
New Rochelle.
How do you?
New N-E-W
Oh,
Rochelle.
okay, that's it.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite. But you know me and my I have like dyslexic hearing, dude. So another issue with me.
Yeah, he has a
but
lot of issues.
I was like, what do you guys say?
He calls it misophonia.
Yeah, I
AKA
suffer from misophonia.
misophonia.
Anyway, so so my dad had told my mom, I'm gonna work, you're gonna stay home.
Right.
And just teach the kids Spanish.
Right.
But then my mom was like, no, because I don't want them to have an accent. Because she just figured anybody speaking Spanish was going to have an accent, which
Right.
isn't the case. Some
Well,
people.
see, it was split in my house. My dad was like, "No, you guys, we assimilate," and my mom was like, "No, they're learning.
They should learn the
They should
culture."
learn the culture."
So,
Yeah.
did your dad speak Spanish fluently?
Not till towards the end. Like he got a job as a translator. Like for the most part, he usually spoke English in the house.
Okay.
There was very few instances I remember him speaking Spanish.
Really, your mom didn't make him?
No, my mom made us speaking Spanish. Me and my little sister.
So
It's
when you
important.
guys were talking to each other, like you and your how many siblings do you have?
Just one.
Okay, so sister, you said?
Sister, yeah.
So you and if you were talking, and the three of you, your mom and you and your sister were talking in Spanish. Your dad understood.
He understood.
Yeah.
and he would just respond in English.
In English.
Yeah.
Defiant.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
that's a total. You know that sounds like there's a similarity there. I feel like with my dad, that American thing, like I'm an American. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm in America. I don't have to speak Spanish all the time or with them. Or that's interesting, man.
Well, Johnny
that's great that you learned it. Though.
It's awesome.
I regret it. Yeah.
My mom was self-taught. She spoke Spanish fluently. And my sister speaks Spanish also. And people are like, your mom spoke Spanish. Isn't she Haitian? But, I don't know because the Dominican Republic was right there or whatever. But my mom, it was very important for her to learn Spanish. And even though I took Spanish in high school and everything, she used to always tell me, Ruben, you need to learn Spanish. You need to learn Spanish. You need to learn Spanish. My sister learned. She got to practice in prison. But for me,
I just love these little throwaways of like, we're not supposed to ask. She learned in prison.
Oh,
I got a ponytail.
I talk about it in my act. But I always say, I haven't done that joke in a long time. I always say my sister had the worst Rosetta Stone ever in prison. That's where she practiced her Spanish. But my sister's fluent in Spanish. Yeah. And now that I'm older, I wish I would have learned Spanish. I mean, it's so handy to be able to speak multiple. Like I speak French and English, or Creole more so than French. I understand French fluently, but I wish I learned Spanish because in other countries, it's very common for people to speak.
A third of the world speaks Spanish.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm just saying multiple languages. Like when you meet people, they'll speak 2 or 3 languages.
Yeah.
Like just on a common thing, but yet we're the greatest, smartest country on earth where most of us only can speak one language. Isn't it crazy? But yeah.
And I got it. Okay, so I've been going on this thing with I'm not gonna pre-set it up here because then I don't want to get influenced. How did your dad, your father, Puerto Rican, how did he pronounce water in Spanish?
Agua.
With the G.
Yeah.
How did your mom pronounce it?
I think she said the same.
She said the same with the hard G?
With a G.
Okay. Because Mexicans typically say agua. And it's supposed to be through the original Spanish from Spain. It's a really soft G. It's supposed to be in the back of the throat. But the interesting is all
from
Puerto
a guy who doesn't speak
Spanish, right? I'm looking at him like he's giving us a Spanish class.
Yeah, because I know because I was wondering about this. This got brought up because I would hear some Latinos say agua. Like my sister married a Puerto Rican, so his family and all of them say agua, and my mom and dad and everybody in our family say agua.
Quick question for you, Johnny. Yeah, I never asked you this. Do your sisters speak Spanish? They don't either.
No, we only really understand some of it. Most of it, I can understand what people are talking about and stuff like that. But we get nervous if somebody speaks to us in Spanish and for us to say something back because it's not going to be. They're going to know it's so not authentic.
Right. Can I ask you this? I don't think I've ever.
And then
asked
we
you
try
this.
too hard. Like remember I told you I used to order food and it was just too, carnitas, carne asada. You know what I mean? It's like
overdoing it,
overboard.
You giving the Castilian with the list.
That's right. Yeah, the list.
So let me ask you, Johnny. Do you have any regrets of not learning Spanish?
Of course. I just said to him. I said that's
really okay.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Now are you putting that on your kid, like making sure she speaks Spanish?
She was learning a little bit because her mom was her white mom was teaching Spanish at the grammar school.
Johnny,
she didn't know Spanish, so she would call me and I go, God. "Wait, are you telling them agua? Because it's agua, all right?" So
Johnny's got the first lesson, agua.
So kind of. So we're getting a clear picture of your background.
Yeah.
How did your parents feel when you started doing stand-up?
My father was happy.
Okay.
Because he was a big, like my mother would work nights, so he would let me stay up, watch HBO.
Okay.
Got to see Delirious Raw, Leguizamo's Mambo Mouth, George Lopez. You remember, like all that stuff that I wasn't supposed to be watching.
Gotcha.
Mom's way, go get me some beers and you can watch HBO. Just cover your eyes if there's any bad parts.
Cover your eyes.
Yeah, cover your eyes.
Your ears.
Yeah, cover your eyes. So you do these right here.
And the motherfucker said,
Yeah,
"Oh man, I can't see any of that."
So when I started doing stand up, he was excited, but he couldn't show that excitement because my mother was just upset about it.
Oh really?
So when my mother wasn't in the room, he's like, "So what's it like? Tell me everything." He was all excited, but then when she came around, "Hey, listen, man, we're disappointed." I'm like, "This dude is."
So
that's funny.
At what point did your mom accept it?
So I made a deal with her. I was like, look, I'm going to stop going to college because I wasn't into it anymore. I was like, I want to do stand-up.
Okay.
I was like, give me a year. Let me see what this is.
Yeah.
Let me start doing the open mics, really dive in. And in a year, you come out and see me. And if I'm not good at this, I go back to school.
Oh, you were going to let her judge.
I was like, if I'm not good, I go back.
Yeah.
And she said, all right. But she gave me the cold shoulder that whole year. Wouldn't talk to me. Just very icy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a friend of mine.
Pardon the pun, everybody. Ice.
Icy. I get it,
You
Johnny.
all right.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay, sorry.
So a year in, a buddy of mine who I'd met through the Pace University shows, like he was running the new talent at Caroline's, which was like a crazy new talent show, bringer night. I believe Rich Voss was hosting.
Oh my gosh!
And
Rich
I invite my
Voss.
mom out. I say, come on out. It's a new talent night. You'll get to see.
And how long had you been doing it? At
a
that
year
point?
at that point.
Oh, okay.
I was like, so you get to see everybody who's new talent, and you can judge me based on them.
Yeah.
So she comes
That's
out.
smart. Yeah.
I have a good set. And it was funny because she got to see bad comedy too. So after she was like, "You're good at this." She goes, "That other guy, nah, he was awful."
Yeah.
Like she was judging people.
Dope,
So she was like, "All right, but you got to promise me you're not gonna quit." And at that point, I was so in love with it. I was like, "No, I love this. I'm gonna do this." And here we are.
So we've asked guests who have been on this show before about what was the defining moment in your life, and it doesn't necessarily have to be something comedic that happened where you felt like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Now I know you explained that you'd seen comedians, but was there a moment where you felt like, I don't want to do what I'm doing, I need to do something else, whether that be comedy or whether that be something else? Was there that moment? I know you said when you saw earlier, when you saw, I can't remember specifically, when you saw the guy who had upgraded his bits, who had the tags. Do you consider that a defining moment for you? But it seems like you had been thinking about it prior to that. Like, is there a moment where it just changed the trajectory of your life?
Well, for me, that moment was the moment that planted the seed.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I see what the art form is. The moment when I decided to go full-fledged into stand-up, I had a job at the time. I was going to school, then I had this job after.
What was the job?
It was this toll-free number company. So like if you called them, like, I need 1-800-call Ruben, we would find the number. We were like a middleman for phone companies.
Got you.
So you didn't want to call AT&T, you call us. And I was doing that, and it was pretty much busy work. Like I was inputting data, and I just remember I would go in 9. I'd get out of school like 11, then I'd be there 11 to 5 or 11 to 6.
Yeah.
And I just remember those hours just getting shorter on each end. I did not want to be there, and I think the guy finally realized it too, because he was just like, this dude is just. He's coming in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he calls me into his office. He's like, hey, listen, man, why don't you, it's a little slow right now. Why don't you take a little vacation time? I was like, all right. He goes, I'll call you when it gets busy again. Dude, a month later, I'm sitting at home. I'm like, yeah, I think this dude fired me. If I'm really going to do comedy, I better do this.
I'll call you when it gets busy.
But at that time, you had already started thinking about doing comedy.
Yeah, I was doing comedy. I was trying to figure out what the next step was. Like I had been doing open mics. I started doing, a couple bringer shows here and there, figuring out which ones were worth my while, which ones are going to get me in front of the real club booker. Cause there's a lot of, those, when you're starting out, it's like, oh, we're going to have industry there. And you're like, who's here?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody here.
Yeah, nobody's there.
Oh, this dude works in the mailroom at CAA.
Exactly.
He's CAA. It's like, all right. So you're trying to figure all that out and navigate through all that.
So you're a year into doing comedy. Your mom gives you the blessing, tells you don't quit. What was the first thing that you felt like, okay, I can make a living at this?
So at that point, about a year in, she gives me the blessing. About 6-7 months later, I book a reality show. So I'm like, oh, okay, there's money here, and not just in stand-up.
What reality show? Or?
It's this awful. It was on CTV that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
It was the Latino,
That became Nouveau.
And it became
We
Nouveau.
just were talking about that.
Then
yeah.
became Fuse, and then it went bankrupt.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was this show called Urban Jungle.
Oh, I remember that title.
Yeah. So it was like rich kids are now going to move into the ghetto, and they put us up in a house in South Central.
Oh, I think I remember
Really?
that.
Is that what caused you to move to LA?
No, at that point I was still in New York.
You're still in New York. Okay.
So, but I had done that show.
And how did you get that show?
So it was just like a blind submission on. Somebody had posted on MySpace, and I was like, oh, okay. I submitted, and next thing I know, I'm on the show.
Hilarious.
And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. I'm thinking in my head at this point, I'm gonna be a star
already.
Oh my God.
CTV. I've never even heard of it, but I don't live that life. So
Yeah.
this is gonna be huge. Urban Jungle. And I just remember after the show airs, being on stage a couple times, like, I was on Urban Jungle. Everybody seen it? And the crowd's just looking at me like, the hell is he talking about? What is this?
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. I want to continue with that. I got my pinky up so I remember. When your mom gave you the blessing, I'm curious. Did you tell your dad? And what was his?
Oh, my father was just excited.
Right,
like,
but I mean, now he could talk. You guys could talk about it freely. Right? Is that how it went?
Yeah. So he starts, he's trying to take credit for it too. Like, remember, I let you watch Pryor. I let you watch. I'm like, all right, easy. And then, of course, then he starts telling me about his, like, I could have been a stand-up. Like, let me tell you some of the stuff I wrote. And I'm like, I'm good, man.
Wow.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, because I would have thought that once your mom was like, because did you call your dad, or did you just tell him at the house, like, hey, by the way, mom came to see me? He wasn't there, right?
No, he came to the show too.
Came.
So he saw it and he was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
Yeah,
Caroline's on Broadway. You made it. And I'm like, "Well, there's more steps."
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's cool, man. And then you
Yeah.
get on Urban Jungle. God, man, I remember
I'm
that.
thinking,
man.
I'm gonna be huge.
Well,
you can't stop me.
Especially when things happen early, man. When you're just doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get on TV until my third year, but even that to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm on TV. I was on something. It's you just think it's gonna,
Yeah.
I think I look at those moments, and we've all had that moment, Eric, where you're like, oh shit, I'm about to take off.
Oh yeah.
But I think for me, when I look back, those are the things that I think remind us that to continue to strive. That somebody saw talent even back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it should encourage you to keep pushing and moving forward instead of looking at it like, damn, nothing happened, I must suck. It's like, no, not everybody gets to be on Urban Jungle.
Right.
Not everybody gets to do BET Comic View or Def Comedy Jam or any of these credits. That's why I think the thing that's so interesting in this business, and we all fall victim to it, is people try to shit on old credits. Mm-hmm. Like, that didn't matter. Like, all that work that you put into, you're not supposed to be proud of your accomplishment back then. Only if Gary Coleman only did Different Strokes, he did Different Strokes.
Like, I tell people credits are like titles and championships. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs only got the one, and the Jets only got the one in the late 60s.
It still counts.
But they got there's teams who still don't have it. They have any. They've got that. They've got. I was just so witty you brought that up. I was just thinking about that, going, man, all those credits.
Because people try to discount it. They go, like, I even heard comics that they'll be like, that's old. And I do get to say some credits in the audience, like, what the fuck is laughing?
You see them on Star Search.
Yeah, what? Exactly.
Yeah.
Or Evening at the Improv. I do get that, but at the same time,
some of them shouldn't be used. Some of
those credits shouldn't be used.
They don't need to continue.
They don't need to use those credits. Oh, I remember a comic, and I remember telling Johnny this story, but it was a comic who's been around for a long time, and I introduced him, and then he got off stage, and he was like, "Hey, man, I've done more than just blah 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 and blah blah blah." And I go, "Well, dude, you didn't tell me. I only could, I asked you, what you want me to say,
whatever,
and you say whatever. So I can only say what I know.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the shit that I know is only from the '80s that you have been using for the last." It's not like I made up these credits.
Right.
I've watched you. I've seen you on these shows when I was in high school.
Fan, Ruben, and know his whole resume.
And then afterwards he was like, "Oh, I see your point." I go, "Yeah, dude. I don't.
Yeah.
I said, when I see you introduce, I hear that's what other people say.
Yeah.
I asked you what you want me to say. You said say whatever.
Yeah.
So I say it was a non-issue,
and
now you're mad at me for giving these credits. But even in that moment, again. Yeah, you might not want to use those credits to make the audience familiar with it, but at the same time, you should never be ashamed that you did Arsenio.
Yeah.
Did these shows. Yeah, who cares if it was 20 years ago?
Right.
You still did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, man, within a few years after Mad was over with, I was telling people, they would always, the host would say, you know, I think you've even asked me before a few times when we're working in Long Beach. You know, he'll be like, Mad TV, right? And I'll be, you know what? You don't have to say that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even want that. You know, some people go, dude, who gives a
stigma.
shit?
But not to mention, you forget that those clips still live on.
You're right. It's a different. It's a different.
Even though you're like, oh, that's so long ago. Like I've seen those clips still on,
still running around and going. I love how George Perez is. He always tells me, "Hey, dog, Little Joker has more followers than you, homie." I'm like, all right, thanks. Anyway, by the way, can we get Chris? Can you find a cast photo of Urban Jungle?
Oh God!
If we can put that, we gotta find it, dude.
We have to find
man.
a cast photo of that.
Oh, I'll put up something from a long time ago. But this is about credits. When we're starting, right? And it's like, when somebody asks you, "Hey man, what do you want me to say?" "Oh, yeah, I was on Suburban Jungle, and then I did this and I did that. I'm about to be on BET, you know." And then as the years go on, you say, "Hey man, you know what? Just a couple here, a couple." You know what I mean? But those early years are fun, dude.
Well, I always say now, and I probably told Eric this, and I believe this because, like, there's so many credits now that aren't from when we came up, aren't really. I don't want to say real credits, but there'll be like some internet credit or whatever.
And one dude like, "Oh, tell him I got over 60 million views." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah, exactly."
The views.
Tell him I got over 60 million views on YouTube.
Or the followers.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this guy come on stage.
He has blah, blah, blah followers.
1.3 million followers. You know, it's like.
So those, I get it, but I always feel like this, and kind of alluding what Johnny says. When somebody goes, "What do you want me to say?" I go, "Hey, man, if the jokes don't work, it don't matter."
It doesn't.
And I do understand, like, I think in black rooms a lot of times credits are important because sometimes, you
they're
know,
judging off the top,
they're just we're so star driven sometimes. So you want to make people go, oh, this motherfucker's actually done some shit.
Right.
So let me pay attention.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, man, I just think it's what you do once your name is called is what's important.
No one's going to remember the credits. They're going to remember you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys with great credits and horrible acts. So it doesn't.
I know. I don't like doing a whole lot myself.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is, so okay, you know, remember I did a guest starring Brian Regan's Stand Up in a Way, the little show
Netflix,
he's got.
Yeah.
And then Taco Shop, it went on to Amazon. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I can say Netflix and Amazon.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying to the host, right? I'm not saying. So both times, dude, I'm like, what do you want me to say? Because I feel like changing, you know, enough with Showtime or whatever, you know. I'm like, Netflix and Amazon. Just mean Netflix. And then the times I did that, they go, all right, everybody, come. This dude has a special on Netflix and Amazon right now. I'm like, that's not what I said.
And that annoys me too when people embellish your credits. Like, dude, I don't need you to do that.
Could you imagine if I had to? I go, hey, I'd have to explain.
Yeah,
I did a guest star on Brian Regan's Netflix, or this movie I did. It's talk shop. No, you know. It's so much to give somebody that I'd rather just say, listen, you've seen me on.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted them to say.
Right. Yeah.
Not check out his special on.
You got two specials, Johnny?
Specials.
Yeah.
Amazon, Netflix, but he does.
Yeah.
When you want to plug it, we can plug it in the middle.
I mean, we plugged it in the beginning, but we'll plug it again.
Oh, okay.
But continue on your journey.
Yeah.
And this used to make me laugh because people used to bust your balls on this all the time. But at the end of the day, it's work. When you got the general commercials,
God.
It was almost a blessing and a curse for you because I used to know, like, you'd be like, dude, what? I'm supposed to say no to this gig?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not supposed to take the gig? You remember the general commercials?
You were on because I watch all commercials.
Dude, I get a call from my commercial agent. Hey, man, there's a commercial for this insurance company.
How did the song go?
1-800.
They call me like
Shaq does them now.
Yeah,
which is the irony of it.
No one makes fun of Shaq.
Nobody makes fun of Shaq.
I was
doing
the first one.
The general. It was the general. It was the general insurance, right?
Yeah,
general insurance.
Yeah.
And they call me like, hey, it's an audition. You're a stand-up comedian in these insurance commercials. I was like, I'm a stand-up comedian in real life.
Yeah.
How do I not book this?
Could you imagine if you had...
Yeah, so I go down there, they give you the script, and it's like awful copy, and I was just like, I can do this. Yeah. They're like, oh, how would you hold the microphone? Like this? And they're like, oh my God, this guy is...
He's a natural.
He's great. Book it. They set up this fake comedy club, and it's fake comedy,
Yeah.
but people were so angry. Like, this is the first time I felt like
Chris, can you
internet
pull up the
hate.
music of the general, the
what do you
jingle?
mean? When you say people, you mean other comics?
No, not comics would bust my balls about it.
Oh, okay.
Like, hey man,
Yeah.
General Insurance. But then like I would just get internet hate. Like, this guy's not even this is not even funny.
I know,
This
dude.
comedian's not funny. I'm like, yeah, man, that's a script.
It's
I didn't write. It's not a
scripted,
real
I'm just
joke.
getting a check, dude.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get
I'm
paid.
I'm just
That's
getting a
it.
check, man. Now,
Was that a regional or
No,
local?
it was national, man.
It was national.
now,
Oh.
now, I mean, it's over. I'm just curious because I know experiences we've all had doing commercials. Was it a buyout or did you get
It was
residuals?
always a buyout.
Those buyouts suck.
Oh,
dude.
those
Oh,
buyouts.
and they played that
So
thing
cheap.
all the time.
That's
I
why I
know,
went
dude.
like,
Them
that's why I was like,
buyouts.
good for you.
Just
Oh, I
to
get-
explain to you
yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
a lot of
Who doesn't know-
commercials, you'll get a fee for doing the commercial, and then you'll get residuals for the life of the commercial.
If it's a union commercial.
If it's a union
the
commercial.
union covers you.
So there's a lot of companies that were doing national commercials,
Non-union.
but they're non-union.
non-union.
So they'll give you one flat fee that they could play it 10 million times,
Which they do.
which they do, and you only get that one check for shooting it, and that's it. And I've done a buyout before, and what's funny is because I'd done a couple of 800 dentist commercials.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you.
Yeah,
which
I've
was
done a
the one
bunch
you
of those. And people used to give me shit, but it's like, dude, the exposure is crazy when you do those commercials. Like, now, is it artistic and you're proud of your work and you're gonna.
But
it's
no actor can say they're proud of every role
Yeah.
they've done.
No man.
But let me tell you, then I remember doing a Frosted Mini Wheats commercial, and it was a very small part, and I made so much money off that thing, man. And it's like,
and you were
yo,
hardly in it.
hardly like I was, maybe wasn't. And it's not like you would. I mean, if you blinked, you missed me. But I was the principal in the commercial,
Right.
And the amount of money I got, way less exposure that I did from the 800 dentists and
Right.
those commercials. But that one principal role in a union thing, and you go, wow, no wonder they fight for actors to do union work, man.
Yeah.
That's the
Like
whole point.
those
yeah.
reasons. It's like, yo, somebody can give you 20 grand
Yeah.
and you're done, or somebody could pay you for a union commercial and you'll be able to eat for years
Yeah.
sometimes with these
I
commercials.
had a commercial that almost went national, but then so it was a McDonald's commercial. Two football players, Tiki Barber for the Giants at the time,
Yeah.
and Curtis Martin for the Jets. He had just gotten traded over. This commercial was going to be huge. They were going to play it every Sunday, NFL. I was so excited. My rep is like, dude, you're going to make so much money.
Yeah.
It airs the first couple weeks. Tiki Barber goes down, gets injured. Curtis Martin then the following week goes down, gets injured, and McDonald's like, we're gonna pull it because they're not playing no more. They're out for the season.
Oh my gosh, dude.
So I like in my head though, I was like, I'm gonna buy a car. I'm gonna get a nice little place in the
Dude,
city.
and here's the thing. And like a lot
Because
of
they
this,
start telling you, oh, you're about to make a couple hundred.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
there was a guy that I met who did a ton of commercials, and I remember when I booked. Man, I mean, I've told Johnny the story. I remember I was dead broke. You know those moments in your journey where you're like, dude, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent.
Right.
And I remember going to my mailbox, and I opened up my box, and I had like 8 checks. And then I opened it, and like one was for like $2 grand, one was like for $800, one was like for $3 grand. And dude, I remember opening up the envelopes, going, they made a mistake. Like I didn't know the concept of residuals,
the running
just
cycles.
It was like they sent me like 8 checks at one time in different envelopes.
Right.
I'm like, what the? Like my heart's beating fast. Like, yo, I got.
You went home and waited for the phone to ring.
Yeah, like did they
somebody
make a
gonna call.
mistake? Like,
Somebody
you
gonna
know,
call.
Went over your shoulder.
Yeah, I had no idea. And then I remember talking about a friend of mine who had booked a lot of commercials, and he was almost like, yeah, dude, if this was 5 years ago, he like bought a house, he bought property, he bought all, like that's how much people were making off of commercials, man. And not even like somebody like a Carlos Alzraki,
I was just gonna
who we
bring him
all
up.
know,
Yeah.
who was like a part of a campaign where he was a campaign, like
Right.
what was the
Yo quiero Taco Bell.
Yeah, but remember like the AT&T guy for a while.
We had the same management when they repped that guy. Remember the guy with the long trench coat in the
Can you hear me
in
now?
the Sprint.
That
No,
guy?
the Sprint. Oh, I'm going back further. Remember the Sprint PCS guy with the black long trench coat? All right. Well, anyway, he was a spokesman, and we were Cindy was repping, I think, us at the same time. And then this is that double-edged sword about commercials. So when you get too much exposure, then everybody's like, they try to send him out for stuff, and that cast would go, "Oh, you mean the Sprint PCS guy?" And then she'd go, "No, his name is, and he is a great actor." And dude, the guy had bought a couple houses, and everything. But after that campaign, though, dude, is when. So I don't know if I love it. Carlos Osrocky didn't really get exposure from being the taco, but the money but then again, he never got typecast either as a commercial you know what I mean? So it's tough, man. I would just like to be in a good one that everybody loves, but maybe not the spokesperson, man.
Every time I talk to comics, they're like, "Oh, I want to be Kevin Hart." I'm like, I just want to be Flo from Progressive.
Dude, I almost brought her up.
So much money.
So much money. And I think she's already reached the longest campaign for spokesperson campaign. Go ahead.
Speaking of campaigns, a lot of people don't realize Godfrey, shout out Godfrey, used to be the 7-Up guy.
7-Up dude, man.
And people don't even remember, like, dude, Godfrey was the 7-Up guy when commercials were paying money.
Yeah,
you know
he
what I mean?
was the 7-Up guy, and then he stopped, and Orlando,
what's his name? He was from Mad TV.
From Mad TV, he took over.
He took over. Bloom?
Not Bloom. That's what I was going to say, Bloom.
That's the actor. Orlando.
I can't remember his name.
What's his last name? That's right, dude. Yeah. And they were paying back then, man.
So, I mean, it's always dope to work. But so now you did The General, you got shit from that, and then now you've landed on HBO with your first half-hour special.
First half-hour special titled Super White.
Super White. Hilarious.
What did you do? Wasn't there something else that came out not long ago?
Yeah, so what they've done, they've built a platform for Latin comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there isn't one, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
Right.
You look at Netflix, what they've done 3 in the last 6 years.
And they're all
named. 2 of them have been Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. The other one was
Christella.
Oh, Christella. Oh, yeah. So they're already established. It's not like they're building.
They're not really doing Latin comics,
right?
And
there's not a lot of diversity.
And there's a lot of them. I wish I could be a mediocre white comic. I'd have a special in no time.
Come on, man.
Come on. So,
so you did the thing on, was it Nouveau?
Which one? Oh, that was years back. I did a special for Nouveau. But
no, he did the other. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So Entre Nos is sort of like their Def Jam for Latin comics.
Okay.
They created this platform because they saw that there was a need for it, and I shot that for them last year, and it aired in April.
Okay.
And that was how long?
That was a 15-minute.
Right, because it was like 4 comics doing 15 or something?
4 comics doing 15.
Got it. Okay.
That's what it was. That's right. Yeah.
And that...
Entre Nos.
Entre Nos, yeah.
Entre Nos.
And then from that, the execs saw that set, and they really loved it. Because in that set, I was talking about my father's passing and just stuff we were dealing with as a family. Mm-hmm. Going back to your whole thing of keeping it as close as you can, keeping it personal.
Yeah.
They saw that, and they're like, oh, my God, we would love for you to do the half. Because we're starting to do standalone halves. And I was like, yeah, why not?
So how can people watch the special? Is it on is it HBO Latino? Or
it's going to premiere HBO Latino on November 1st.
Okay.
But then after that, it'll be available on HBO Go, HBO Now, HBO On Demand. So just you go into the comedy section and you'll see my face in Super White and click on it.
Dope.
Yeah, all the platforms, man. and then they just HBO just. I meant to write some of this.
2020, they're launching HBO Max.
I just
read
read about that this week. HBO Max. And then on the HBO Max there's a Latino division that they're going to create called HBO Max. Anybody?
He swings. Well, when he swings
I
hard.
swing. Yeah. Oh, you're going to like this one though.
He and he's calling the shot.
Don't encourage him.
Hey,
go ahead.
On that note, so I was thinking too that Hulu should have their own Latino division called Chulu, and Netflix should do Netbacks.
Okay.
BAX.
Hey, Chris, did you find the General commercial jingle? Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so HBO Max is gonna. So it'll probably be on HBO Max platform as well.
Yeah.
And I have to say, dude, that's what even That's what's great about what HBO is doing, because they're it's HBO. You think it's only going to be on HBO Latino, but they're throwing.
Oh, no,
out
it's going to be on
everything.
across.
And I'm excited
the board.
because they're going to do HBO Blacks, which is going to.
Oh, is that after Max? Oh my god. But all those shows will be running a little late, so don't go off the time slot. If it says 8, that's 9:03.
Really? See, it comes out.
What?
You're
Later.
racist. I told you you're racist.
What?
Man.
Come on, man. Not in this climate.
Come on, man. Hey, man, give me some more
But
awa.
so Eric, one more time.
Okay.
November 1st
November 1st
on HBO Latino.
on HBO Latino, but then available on all HBO platforms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
man.
streaming and everything. But what if somebody is just wanting to watch it? Is there a time? Is it have a time?
It'll start at 9:30 on HBO Latino.
PM.
Yeah.
9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
On November 1st.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Watch it with your
November-
kids. Just tell them to cover his eyes.
And how can people
And
find?
that's it's
and how can people find you?
On all social media, Erik Rivera Comedy, ERIK Rivera Comedy.
Erik Rivera Comedy. Eric, thank you for doing the show.
Oh,
I
man,
feel like
thanks
we've
for
gotten a
having me on,
chance
man.
to know you a little bit better.
I
I'm
always love
excited
the
for you.
backstories.
I'm excited for you, and I know your mom is proud, dude.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And I know your dad.
And your dad's very
is,
proud of
looking
it
down
as
on
well.
you,
Thanks,
very
man.
proud
Thank you,
also.
thank you.
And so you can check Eric out on his social media, and also November 1st on HBO Latino, and you can catch him at Ruby Tuesdays every once in a while when he does the show.
Don't forget, November 1st is Dia de los Muertos.
Okay.
In case anybody's curious. And
Anyway.
don't forget, it's on Entre Nos.
Chris, did you find the general? Could you play
Well,
it
can
on our
we
way
just
out?
hear
Can we let that be?
Can we play out to 1-800 General?
Our outro music. Oh, jeez, man.
Dude, you said that. How long ago did you ask him?
Like
10 minutes ago.
Eric,
Don't forget about the photo, the cast photo for Urban.
He was busy writing down the jokes. The Chulu.
but Eric,
Chulu, he got blacks.
thank you for doing the show, man.
no,
And
thank you,
I'm
man.
very
Thanks.
excited for you. So everybody,
Yeah, that's exciting.
HBO Latino, November 1st, Erik Rivera, super white.
There we
So
go.
check it out. And thank you guys for listening to the best of everything with my boy Johnny Sanchez and Erik Rivera as our guest today. So we out. You can catch us on Google Play, iTunes,
YouTube, Spotify,
yeah.
everywhere else.
All right, we out. Thank you guys.
Okay.
For a great low rate you can get online, go to the General and save some time.
In Tuesdays.
This show is all about diversity and bringing everyone together. You never know who you're going to see at Ruby Tuesdays.